Welcome back to Shanghai Hongqiao for what was a back and forth team fight heavy, awe-inspiring game one of Rogue Warriors and Dominus.
I don't know if we're watching the same game, Raz. I mean,
Awe-inspiring.
it was... Okay, maybe we should gift them the awe-inspiring just because it is DMO Appreciation Day, but team fight heavy, nah. I mean, looking back at that gold grab, it barely even existed.
It had as much action as a TED Talk, but essentially, you know, Rogue Warriors and Sino Dragons, they were on a podium. They were on a pedestal. Not only is it Dominus Appreciation Day in Hongqiao, not only did they have the cheerleaders out. By the way, the cheerleaders were more active than Dominus themselves in that game, sadly enough. But yeah, Rogue Warriors end up picking game one, mostly off of this man's performance. Holder picking up the MVP on that one, so congratulations. That was the biggest GP I've seen in some time.
And of course, it was his barrel setup after they took the Baron. Corralled into a bad place. Who even cares? Yeah, Holder had a really good game despite the fact that his turret was taken early and he couldn't actually find efficient places to farm against his lane opponent, but still managed to come out big in the game.
He was patient, biding his time, much like every single member on the map. And he ends up getting this huge barrel placement, as you already saw in this one. So not only did they get the Baron sneaking in underneath Dominus's whiskers, but then when the team fight ends up going through, it's like, okay, well, we go in the game. Yep, literally that was it. 30 minutes of just nonsensical farming, and then they end up winning.
That was it, and you were talking about it a little bit earlier. Can you imagine getting 371 farm on this Irelia and then not actually making an impact? I like Natural. I like how dominant he is in lane, even though he fell down 2 times inside a laning phase, but maybe put him on something that can actually start a fight.
I mean, really you can do that. Sadly, you need confidence, and it feels like not even Dominus Appreciation Day can instill you with the confidence of once you get GA to roam, group up mid, when the when the Braum and Ezreal has picked up a wave on the bot side of the map to just force a fight. Hell, even when the Braum has ended up blocking most of your engage, you still have the Irelia that has targeted the backline with her ultimate. They just were never comfortable going through with the fight that they end up going initially picking up.
So taking it one step back and taking a look at the whole composition is DMO Appreciation. I appreciate Mark on the Tom Kench, but he didn't use that ultimate. I mean, like, he used it twice in order to pick out the enemy jungler, like we mentioned. However, in the last 20 minutes of the game, I don't think I really saw it, except maybe to get back to the lane, so nullifying any sort of poke that happened against his team. I think that he definitely needs to be more active. If ever there were a time for him to step up on this team, it should be now. Him paired with Aitong looked like the 2 main engagers, and unfortunately, he wasn't that in the first game.
Yeah, and, you know, Coach Bai for Dominus, it's interesting. It's really perplexing because in this first split, they come in with their hectic team fight focus that they go for. Chanhong usually leading the charge with his Scion, and it never really felt as though that they didn't have a lack of vision within the game, or they didn't feel as though they didn't have an idea how to play out their composition. They always knew how to play it out. And right now what I'm seeing is pure confusion, especially when Twila is playing as well as he did. Yeah. And to your point, how well Mark was doing in the early portions of the game, from that point forward, it is just like, you're right, mid-game, what did they do? They didn't do anything. Sure, the point that we made within the game of, like, the orange that GP had, the cleanse that 2 members had, that they can just essentially soak in the CC that was coming in initially. But coordination really gets you past that initial adventure that they didn't even attempt for.
No, I'm going to disagree with that. That's just 1 orange. You know what it costs in China? 1 yuan. That's barely anything. So if you take down one,
orange.
Yeah, if you take down 1 point of CC, you have multiple other ones as well. You've got the TK to come in, you've got the Varus, and you've also got the Zoe. There's something that has to lock down that GP in a side lane. Didn't pull the trigger, worked out against them.
But yeah, thankfully the point was essentially like coordination. You know, you get past the first CC, you have many more that you could essentially go for, and you have semi-globals that can at least get multiple people. You don't have an excuse. So it's sad that Dominus didn't get it going for the first game. Going into game 2, I can't even say that they can change the composition, sadly. I think that the comp was actually perfect.
It was good.
So upset. But now for Rogue Warriors, what do you want to continue to see from them? Because they ended up picking up game 1, and a lot of it they had the early game goal lead. Technically, they ended up getting the Rift Herald. It felt like the composition, while initially you look at it and say there was a problem with it, they played well to it. So what do you want to see from this
So
team
I
going
like
forward?
the Olaf in the jungle, but one thing that the Olaf always needs is complementary lanes. So you need CC inside of those lanes. Gameflank did not provide it. Corki didn't provide it either. He only really had one place to focus, which was the bot lane. In the end, didn't even abuse the fact that Brom could have stunned up his opponent. So very difficult for him. If you're not going to be going for those early ganks, then draft at least something else for your team. Maybe a front line or maybe just even more late game damage.
Yeah, I like that point. Specifically because you saw 2 times in which he had to cover for mid lane with how well Twila was doing and how much damage, how much of an issue that Corki was under. So I understood that one, and it feels bad as an Olaf when you don't have that complementary piece. So I want to see if there's going to be an adaptation there from Rogue Warriors. I love the fact that they used him as an early game bridge, but there are multiple champions who can accomplish that.
Yeah, and it was difficult primarily because one of the best compliments towards the Olaf is the Karma, now more or less on a permanent ban list within 9.14. So it's very unfortunate that we won't see her. Maybe somebody else with the speed up or a lockdown to provide it. I mean, you've got a plethora of that available.
And just as a reminder for you people out there, not only are we seeing Karma consistently banned, but a few champions were globally banned by Riot Games. One of them was the Jace, Mordekaiser, and the Taliyah. HuaTian, a phenomenal Taliyah player, has been actually putting quite a bit of pressure with the Corki.
Yeah.
So I want to see what he can do if he's going to consistently being given the Corki pick, or if he finds another one.
It is a tit for tat. So of course the Taliyah taken off from HuaTian, but also Natural, a very good Jace player. The Jace no longer available to him. We had to see him default onto Aurelia, which still looked very fine, but maybe he just needs to pick something that actually has a hard stun so his team can have the confidence to engage with him.
A lot of the times, to your point, when teams really struggle to pick up a fight, or macro getting out rotated around the map, as we saw a few times from Dominus, they end up going for that band-aid, more CC, more stun. You have an Aurelia, maybe it's better to have Malphite. Yeah. He got a buff. He got a small buff.
Wow, that was a complete 180 from what I was thinking of.
Look. Malphite. But anyways, what were you thinking of?
No, I'd like even Poppy is available, right?
Oh, Poppy is good.
Poppy is very good. Of course, not that great into a GP because no dash is inside of that lane.
Oh, it's
but
awful versus GP.
Yeah, but if you've got anything else available for your lane, I mean, especially somebody who wants to carry early on, you can completely negate it with the Poppy.
Yeah. My time previously as a coach is when you realize in a series or just in a situation you're going into a game where you're far outmatched, you end up picking more CC. Sometimes more comfort as well. If you have that Thresh player, you pick him Thresh. If you have a guy in the top lane that's saying just pick me Rumble, sometimes it's better to just pick him Rumble. It depends. There are 2 ways to go about it. Do you want to see comfort, or do you want to see all-out engage, simplicity?
Well, you would have to imagine that comfort would be what comes out now just because the last draft was so good, but that was fast.
Now immediately going towards the Olaf as a first pick. Going straight back to the pick, Weyon ends up getting it, but to go straight towards the bans. Sivir, Karma, and the Azir have been banned by Rogue Warriors, but by Dominus, it's actually Sylas, Caitlyn, and the Karthus.
I'll just quickly say that because of the nerfs, I'm surprised that Sylas is still permanently on the ban list. He's not as strong as he used to be, but Dominus obviously respected. So going into the Olaf without that pick, you would have to imagine Sejuani's still very good.
Yeah, they saw the double AD carry coming in from Rogue Warriors the last game round. They said, we'll match that as well. If we're going the distance, if we're going 30 minutes, 300 CS, then you know who's going to benefit, the double AD carry that Dominus have picked for themselves. But don't go for this one. HuaTian is a phenomenal Echo.
Oh.
So I know this is kind of a joke cover, but I love the fact that he is that good of an Echo. And if he's looking towards Vitality, though you ask a few people and you probably shouldn't be looking towards Vitality, they ended up picking that up for themselves and they did relatively well. So not going to be the lock-in, but I love the fact that it was hovered.
Yeah, and I actually quite like what's being hovered right now, Raz. It's going to be a very comfortable bottom lane that has the level 2 power spike. That's something that we needed to look forward to, because apart from that 15-minute stalemate in the middle of the game, you also have to look towards laning phase. Whatever you can get that early on inside will definitely be the snowball and the point of focus for your team. So immediately putting all of that pressure towards GALA and Mark once again.
Yeah, there we go. Xayah, Rakan, and the only lane that they know for certain, for the bot lane, is the Ezreal. So supports can just get banned out by Dominus going into the second game. I want to see immediately the Yuumi ban. They don't want to even respect the poke that comes through. So now it's just going to be Ezreal providing that little bit of poke. Maybe the Lux ban as well.
The Lux or the Nautilus, either one would be really good. Of course, Rakan's power level by himself is fairly low at the moment, apart from the LCK, where they still do look towards him. However, with the Xayah, obviously much higher. Not going to be in terms of tankiness, though, so they don't want the all-in.
The Jarvan ban against Dominus. Now, Aitong still has to go towards his own jungle pick, of course, and we still have to see a potential solo laner. I can't even say that the Corki is going to be locked into the mid lane,
right.
just because in the meta we've been seeing Corki be thrown up in the top lane a little bit, so we still have to respect that one.
Good draft potential, but the fact that they haven't picked up a jungler they will have to next rotation, if ZWuji isn't banned over here, then I will be feeling really bad for Rogue Warriors, because their comp, if they go into somebody who can tank up their poke and that frontline engage, will not do too well.
Yeah, it might just turn out to be a tank jungler that can really soak in that damage that you're referring to. The ZWuji is still available. Seems like Rogue Warriors want to get full autonomy in the early game. They actually could have done that. They could have let the Rek'Sai go. Olaf is fabulous versus the Rek'Sai, but didn't want to give Aitong an ability to gank through the lane. Is this going to be a pick on the Trundle? We've been seeing Trundle in the jungle quite a lot.
No.
It's going to be locked in. So if you guys were ecstatic versus with, like, you know, poke, the slow that he's able to have with his pillar, objective focused, yeah!
Look, okay, so while the Trundle is much more of a skill matchup into an Olaf, more times than not the Olaf wins that just because he can completely negate the CC coming out from the cones and do more damage early on. So obviously Aitong wants to get into lanes, not the actual 1v1 with the opposing jungle.
You wanted action, the Renekton being picked up by holders, so you know that the Nico is going to be into the mid lane potentially. Actually, I can't even say that anymore, but I'm just going to make the assumption, goddammit. And Huanggai hovering over the Alistar with the supports being banned out, the Yuumi, the Morgana, he wants to go towards that engage type.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking towards the north. Wouldn't even be mad on his Alistar. He got MVP the first time he entered the league on that champion, so could definitely be in his wheelhouse. Still the same play style, of course. The re-engage after Rakan goes in, you could naturally pull him out of his dash back towards the Xayah and punish him in that direction. But so far, I like what Rogue Warriors have done. They patched up their early laning phase. They've got the Nico and also the Renekton, both champions with heavy lockdown for the Olaf to gank their lanes.
We got quite a few engages coming out from both Rogue Warriors and Dominus. On Rogue Warriors side, you got that Nautilus that you've been talking about. You have the Nico ultimate too, so if she gets great positioning, she can just get right into the thick of things. And on Dominus side, you have the Rakan, and it really does feel like that's what it is. That's it. It's going to be the Rakan ultimate that's going to be the primary focus of the engage from Dominus. Otherwise, it's going to be sending out a pillar and then having the Corki end up placing down quite a bit of poke. So from Dominus end, it's going to be a whole focus on Rakan if they want to just all in for the fight, but predominantly we're getting ourselves heavy farm, heavy poke on their side of things.
Yeah, still a dominant lane for Dominus in the bottom side. However, man, just looking at the last lock-in at 20 seconds, it was an Akali into a Renekton. That is very tough to deal with. Of course, her invisibility also getting changed to the fact that you can now sense her throughout the invisibility if you put down some vision. It's got to be very difficult to actually lane toe-to-toe with the Renekton. Even if he doesn't see you, just the Cull the Meek alone, still good trading.
It's a bit of a skill matchup. You know, seeing how the Akali went into it, back when I was watching it on LEC, you know, the Akali was able to do well in that matchup, but only because they were able to, you know, play some trickery. Yeah. Force the Renekton to go into press, not to press the attack, but towards the, oh Lord have mercy, I'm forgetting. Conqueror, there we go. Go towards Conqueror because he expected a far different matchup there. So if it's Conqueror, Renekton versus the Akali, she's able to come out of that lane very well, but if it's press the attack, and you better believe that Holder knows his matchup here, then it's actually going to be pretty difficult for Natural to be able to deal with that. Yeah,
and this is actually really difficult as well for the side of DMO because Aitong doesn't have many avenues into these lanes. Of course, the best lockup that he has is in the bottom side, so that's the best place for him to look.
We'll have to see how this game ends up going. We're getting into game 2. Dominus versus Rogue Warriors. It's Dominus Appreciation Day, but guess who's going to appreciate it if they lose 0-2? Nobody. Nobody. Oh, wait a minute. We're going in for a full invade too.
Ooh, okay. I think we have some time to listen in, but already spotted out by the ward, so it's going to be disengaged and nullified.
All right. Two games in a row in which HuaTian is essentially forcing a vertical jungling, so it's nice to be able to see the consistent strategy coming out to support ZWuji and Huanggai in lane. We'll see how it pans out.
They naturally need to because the matchup in the straight 2v2 does lean towards DMO. However, Aitong starting on the top side now, just criticizing how the top and mid lane for his team doesn't actually facilitate a trundle coming in. So I'm curious to see how exactly he wants to influence the lanes, because he sure as hell doesn't want to take it straight 1v1 against HuaTian.
They're put in a pretty tough position. You're right, he's starting up top side, but even if he goes in for an invade, you know, buff to buff, trying to force that vertical jungling, their a ward was placed by Renekton, so they get full vision of Trundle. I don't think they'll be able to challenge it, but he's going to be pathed around. And at the same time, Holder should be incredibly safe now that they know that Aitong's going to be on blue buff right now.
Yeah, so the one thing that we were really watching out for is, of course, the top lane matchup, seeing the Renekton locked in. However, now with the Akali, if it's all just going to be a numbers game, of course, with Press the Attack coming out for Holder, then all you need is to bring some additional damage, and very early on, Trundle provides that.
Yeah, I want to see how this lane ends up going, since you're right, he knows the matchup that he was going into, ended up getting that Press the Attack, so if he has that slight vision whenever Natural pokes himself out of the initial shroud, the damage is going to last. Now, that's going to be a fleet footwork coming in from Natural, so he recognizes that he needs a little bit of sustained movement speed will also help out. And going into Resolve secondary.
That's all he really needs, because the sustain is available at all times from Cold and Meek. So as long as he's topped up, really, Natural is sitting in a great place to constantly shove out the wave. It's going to be up to Holder to call his jungler up once again. Now, we did mention the fact that Renekton can set up an Olaf very easily with his lockdown. So that is an avenue that Rogue Warriors could play towards.
Now, as you can see, Twila is going to be the focus of the POV on the side of Douyu and Huya. So if you want to go and check that out, then you can. But kind of focusing in on the Akali changes as well. I mean, you're right. Her Twilight Shroud changed from obscurity to invisibility, which really helped the matchup. But Twila is going to get opened up on. Flash comes through from HuaTian, but it didn't turn into a first blood. Really close.
Yeah, and Aitong doesn't even really care, because he knew that his mid laner was going to get out to relative safety.
Natural has got to back away from this one. A lot of damage being answered back by Holder.
That's it. That's the early game Renekton. You can never go into him not respecting it.
And we got to find an all-in too. So GALA taking considerable amount of damage on all-in there from ZWuji too. Super aggressive. But speaking of aggressive plays, Holder might die throughout this, but no CC being able to chain him down, so he gets out free.
That was a real punishing factor. Now, of course, the uneven trade very early on in the top side was to bait Holder to go forward. However, not using his slice and dice upwards meant that Aitong couldn't lock him down.
HuaTian, recognizing that there's no vision in the tri-bush, may stick around a little bit longer, but it's going to take a long time for Rogue Warriors to fully shove this one in, so he's going to play the waiting game. See if he can get GALA nice and low for a dive. He's just going to sit there, get his lawn chair out.
And it's going to be hard for him to actually get to that situation, because, of course, Xayah can clear out the wave so easily. So they're respecting the situation and actually going to get pushed in.
It's about time. And guess who's going to be joining him? Yep, HuaTian coming in. This is going to be a 4v2 dive. No teleport there from Twila, so he can't help out. Let's see if Natural is going to lend a helping hand. There's a wave near the Akali turret, so he's going to put in a lot if he ends up responding with his own TP. There we go. Aitong's coming through. It's going to be a flash coming in from GALA. No other points of engage, and it's just going to be them completely denying them the wave.
Yeah, Aitong coming in to hold his bot lane's hands. However, the advantage still goes over in terms of plating. 1 over to Rogue Warriors. So managing to disengage the situation, and much like the very early game, we see that it's just a disengaged game coming out. I mean, they don't want their lanes to get influenced, so realistically they just want to get some resources onto themselves in terms of their junglers.
And you gotta like the fact that Aitong was there for the bottom lane nice and early. Otherwise, not only would they have died, honestly, but then Natural would have been at risk of having to TP when he has a wave underneath turret, and that would have been multiple lanes losing because of one instance. So responding very nicely, but Holder's got to watch out. Also, Shuriken Flip now has an AP scaling to it. That's nice.
Yeah, very nice. Nice to see that Akali got some actual
number buffs.
Yeah, number buffs.
So not only is her Q now a 0.6 AP ratio rather than a 0.5, her, you're right, on Shuriken flip, also got something.
WeiYan's actually looking.
Going for an all-in. This could be a nice finish off. Oh, got him just on the tip, too. He's going to be followed. Nice DP,
no.
but he flashes over the wall. Doesn't want him getting out of there, so it's going to be a nice trade.
Yeah, forces the flash from WeiYan because he knew that he was coming in, still managed to get it, and teleport now on cooldown.
My God. Natural answering, toe-to-toe with Holder. Holder makes just that one mistake, and that's the skill matchup right there for you. Not only was Holder able to get a nice, W, slice and dice earlier on to put a colleague down to begin with, but all it takes is just that one error, and she chases you down the lane.
That's the name of the game. If you can get the Shuriken flip off while he's culling the Meek, no heal for him, no damage down onto you, and then you just win the trade straight outright. So it's very good for Natural to actually know his play windows, and this is a straight 1v1 that eventually culminated in the opposing jungler getting the kill, but going into Holder because Holder is so low, and even though he gets the double dash off, the flash and the ultimate, too much.
Thought it was enough distance, wasn't the case, and teleports in vision only because he knew that WeiYan was there. At least he forced his flash, so no flash coming in from the Olaf, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're happy you get that first kill now if you're Olaf, so let's see what he can actually do with the gold that he now has.
Yeah, and it's almost better onto WeiYan than it is for Natural, because of course we know that Natural can outplay this lane in a 1v1 scenario, but Holder can simply back off, whereas for the members of DMO, they should always be wary of Olaf coming into their lanes, especially seeing as this lockdown.
A slight gold lead that is now there for Rogue Warriors, so that's just a small one. Just a 1k gold lead, and honestly, a little bit of it is just coming through from the first kill that Olaf is able to have, and now he's just chasing Aitong down, pushing him away from the river.
Yeah, I mean, he has his ultimate available, whereas it's a level 5 Trundle, so he's trying to abuse the matchup.
Not only is WeiYan here, but now in comes Huanggai, looking to get a full contest on towards blue buff. Twila ends up ducking away from HuaTian altogether, can come back and join his team. Dominus is now here for the challenge. Going to be a 3v3 initially, a lot of damage coming through, and WeiYan ends up getting the kill onto Aitong with the help of ZWuji's ultimate. Can they get this? Yes, they do, and Mark goes down.
However, in the top lane, Raz, Holder is on the wrong side of that turret.
Yeah, Holder's getting opened up on. It's not a good day here for Dominus.
No, it's not. I mean, in the bottom side of their river, it was in the jungle, you have to say that Aitong wasn't respecting the amount of people who were actually about to roam over. Also thought that he was tankier than he needed to be. Wants to contest over his blue because he doesn't want to lose it. And it's great that he actually managed to get it. However, the damage coming out, especially with the Ezreal ultimate, was too much to deal with. And there was no interaction from DMO's mid lane. I mean, Twila was always on the outside of that fight, so it was uneven numbers from the start.
What damage are we even talking about when it comes to Dominus early, right? Because you're right, Rogue Warriors came in, not only, it felt like a fairly even number fight. I mean, ZWuji definitely tilted the scale with his ultimate, but they all have fairly high numbers. But if you're saying as a Trundle player, yeah, the Corki's coming to help, the Zaya's coming to help, the Rakan's coming to help, perfect, who's doing the damage? Like, who's doing much to help out in this one?
Yeah, there's a lot of lockdown, but nobody's ultimately getting the killing blows onto their opponents. And more to the point as well, it was a smite down from Aitong onto the blue buff, which gave him a little bit of health, but wasn't actually the combat effectiveness. And you win the battle, but you lose the war.
Yeah, so, end of the day, Rogue Warriors open up what was already a decent lead. And now Dominus need to at least focus. Buckle down and focus on a lane here, because Twila has been playing well. Before the fight even started, it was actually outplaying HuaTian just, minutely. And in the last game, he was playing out of his mind. And our criticism toward Dominus this split was the solo laners. That Twila was not having as many good games as he was in Spring Split. And Chanhong was absolutely just, giving away gold, essentially.
I mean, coming in from the first game, you'd have to say that while there was a lot of comfort onto Twila because he managed to get the Zoe, and he did very well with it in the laning phase. Now it's very standard, and Twila hasn't actually been able to make an impact onto the map. So
no vision in either bushes here, and WeiYan's going to have an access on towards Natural. Has to ult out, so Natural now using his ultimate to get the hell out of this situation. Remember, it has a longer cooldown after the changes in 9.14, so it's going to hurt a little bit harder. 20 seconds longer cooldown.
Abusing that fact and abusing Natural in order to get him out of the lane and out of kill range for Holder means that Holder's going to have a much better time. So even though they didn't get the kill, still very well. Aitong, though.
Yeah, Aitong trying to, come out as a surprise, see if he can get anybody. That wasn't the case. Ward ends up catching him in a full committal here from Rogue Warriors. Have a lot of the members on the... What are you trying to do here, Aitong? He's alone and he's trying to disrupt them, but there's no way for him to get the damn Rift Herald.
Yeah, member advantage for Rogue Warriors. They always committed every single time, but they managed to get the objectives every single time, and it's all coming up Rogue Warriors inside of this game. Once again, you have to say the early game goes very clearly over to them. Yeah. Aitong's not actually getting the support that he needs in order to really just play his own role.
It's sad. Last game, we saw Rogue Warriors have harder laning matchups and then still have that small goal lead, and they ended up picking the Rift Herald up anyways. Now it's game 2. Rogue Warriors have, if you look lane by lane, they have the better lane matchups, and now, of course, they're significantly ahead if we're just talking about how the lanes are supposed to go. And 2 of the early kills are now on towards Weiyan. He's going to be a primary focus, and Holder's going to be going straight on top of Natural. Is he all in? Oh. Yes, he is. Going to be pushing Natural out of the lane. Remember, he doesn't have his ultimate up, so that's going to be a real hurting point.
Yeah, however, still the TP, so Natural's not going to lose that too much in that one, but still very well executed by Holder. 3
people here going straight on towards the support here. Huanggai is going to go gold and ends up dying here. Full committal coming in from Nico. Doesn't get anybody. No. Ultimate comes through from GALA, so he ends up dodging it. A real strong point from Dominus. They got the first kill. They got the second kill. Fully pushing Rogue Warriors out of their own jungle.
Great bouncing back from Dominus, and that was a little bit of a misexecution from HuaTian. Too late to the fight ultimately, and with the ultimate couldn't even land anything.
And we're just 1 minute away from the Infernal Dragon. We've got some real good RNG dragons here.
Yeah, second game much better than the first one, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
So this is going to be a point of contention, and what we just saw was a trade-off onto the ADC, and you've even got the jungler right back into the game. So Aitong should be looking towards this and looking to contest it. Of course, it is a 2-0 Olaf, so still higher in terms of the levels, and if there's a level discrepancy, then watch out for the uneven smites.
There we go. Very close to being able to pick up his Hextech GLP. HuaTian's getting into a pretty decent position. His last ultimate was looking good until, of course, the ultimate comes through from GALA to dodge it out.
Now, an important thing to note is, of course, we're getting up to 14 minutes, so this last minute you could actually use your Rift Herald to get some plates and also get some pressure off of the Dragon so that you could do the Dragon with relative safety. It looks like Weiyan is looking for that direction as well in the bottom lane.
Got 30 seconds left on the Rift Herald, just enough time.
It down.
You have to watch out for Mark, but he doesn't want to kill himself to try and stop the channeling. Who gets the full gold? I don't think they're going to commit it towards ZWuji. It depends. Oh, Weiyan doesn't get the gold, so it is more focused towards both ZWuji and Huanggai. That's nice to see. A lot of gold now going into the pockets of ZWuji.
Yeah, more importantly, it got them control over the Dragon. So check out where Aitong is. He's actually in a good enough place to join, but Mark...
Quite a bit of poke now landing on the Mark, but you're talking about positioning on Dragon. Guess who gets positioning? Not only are we fully committing, but now we got package ready for the Corki. All-ins and gets the kill on towards Weiyan. Looking like a pretty good fight here from Dominus. GALA just forcing ZWuji out. Huanggai at least gets off, but that's going to be the Infernal Dragon. You better believe coming in from Dominus. They're fully committing. I got to see what ZWuji, if he can get that steal. Tried for it, doesn't get it. Infernal Dragon there from Dominus.
Once again, good collapse coming out from Dominus, and they're looking much better than they did in the first 10 minutes of the game. The last 4 minutes, they managed to collapse twice onto Rogue Warriors, and now even picking up an Infernal Drake with another one coming up. They are in a very fine position to scale up.
You were talking about what Rogue Warriors wanted to do. You better believe that Dominus recognized it themselves. Pushing out that bot side, getting the turret platings, and wanted to rotate towards the Dragon. Dominus came in. Not only did Corki end up getting his base off to get the Corki package, but the other lanes just fully responded. They were there to collapse on towards Weiyan. Now he's lost his gold bounty too. He had a pretty big bounty. Not only does Twila end up getting that for himself, but you get that pretty huge Dragon pickup.
Yeah, and the package being the MVP inside of that, taking down the opposing jungler, so obviously Drake is off the table, and HuaTian only getting 1 member. While it was good because it was Aitong, no follow-up damage, so Aitong managed to live and collapse.
Ooh. Speaking of him, HuaTian picking up a lot of damage now. That was 450 gold being picked up by Twila, but speaking about gold, 160 gold turret plating there from Corki, but nothing else that Dominus was able to get for themselves. But for Rogue Warriors, pretty spread out, 373 gold there for the Ezreal.
Still sitting in a very good position. I mean, you would have to say that just because of the Zyra Khan and the fact that items don't spike that fast for ADCs, yeah, it's still in a good position. But it's getting to the point in which if ZWuji lands a very good ultimate and forces their opposing lane out, then he's going to get a clear advantage.
He's been landing some damn good ultimates throughout this series, but looks like we might be able to see an ultimate committed by Natural. A great engage. Holder wants to just force back the fight. A lot of nice damage traded back and gets himself some HP as well in Dominus.
I mean, he had to burn the ultimate for that, so at the end of the day, I'm not even certain if that was the best case for Holder, but still, pushing the Akali out of lane means that the two junglers can respond, and they're looking topside, Raz. It looks like this could potentially be a dive for Holder. Yeah,
we'll see what ends up happening. A lot of HP going back on towards Natural. He has his Gunblade up, so it is so damn hard to be able to keep him low. But I guess there's some... It depends on what Huanggai wants to do. He's been sitting around in the area, but you can see Aitong in the area just to be able to counter. A lot of damage going back on towards Holder, and there's the committal. Nautilus was in the area just waiting for the mistake to happen, but he's in his shroud. Let's see if they can get anything back on it. Holder doesn't want to commit anymore.
No, I mean, he's respecting Aitong, and also the fact that ZWuji just used his ultimate topside without hitting anybody means they don't want to fully commit it to that fight. So everything is disengaged just because Aitong stuck around.
Yeah, but great job from Huanggai. Just sitting just out of vision, recognizing that with how Natural has been playing out the lane, he was going to go in at some point. Finds the pickup. No flash being thrown out by Natural, just used his shroud. But next time, more members are in the area. You better believe that that's going to be Rogue Warriors committing to that fight.
Still early days, Raz. I mean, one of my biggest criticisms of the draft in this game was the Trundle and how it impacts his own lanes and how it actually interferes with his opposing lanes. But he's shutting me up for the time being. Of course, it's still before Baron's a thing, before people are still 5v5ing, but he's been doing very good effort for his team.
What do you want to see out of the Trundle? Because we've seen Trundle so rarely in the LPL, and he went golden!
I mean, that's not what I wanted to see.
He used stopwatch, guys.
That's not what I wanted to see.
Name and shame.
I wanted to see him heavily influence his lanes, and look, in the first 10 minutes, he did not do that. He did not get into any of them because, of course, there wasn't any setup, but didn't even look towards the bot side. But everybody else collapsing onto him, especially around the bottom side of the jungle, worked out fine.
It's always hard to look for ganks as a Trundle, but, with how the RNG's been going well, they found themselves one. Twila gets a lot of damage, and he has to flash away. But the Infernal Dragon is going to be a point of focus. 1 minute away. Dominus wants to pick up that second Infernal. And with the Trundle, I mean, that's a lot of zoning tools that they can pick up for themselves. But you're right. I mean, that's what they want to accomplish. Unfortunately, no flash on Twila now, and he has to go back to base. Gives Rogue Warriors that advantage.
And this is obviously not another power spike for the Corki. He's not going to have package ready, and that was the thing that really burned down Rogue Warriors in the initial Infernal Drake. So second time round, factors are different, and because the gold differential is not large enough that there's any real item difference, it should be very clean for the fight.
Thankfully, Aitong never even needed his stopwatch just because he was able to pick up his Gargoyle Stone Plate immediately.
Yep.
So he's going to be a tanky man in these fights, and we're just talking about who he's going to be targeting. You would expect it to be the Nautilus with his ultimate, but for the most part, you didn't like the Nautilus, or at least the Trundle pick into the Olaf. What stats is he actually stealing is the question.
Yeah, of course he can steal it away from Huanggai. Huanggai, though, doesn't actually have that many to take away. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for him to actually decide. However, with the Pressy attack, if he can get it down onto a core damage dealer and then get his ultimate, it just means that everybody else in his team is set up to shred.
All right, major focus on towards the Infernal Dragon, but even more focus on mid lane priority. Dominus ends up picking it up for themselves, so they at least have the presence here. Take a look at Natural. I think they saw him, but he's in position for a flank. We'll see if Holder ends up getting some vision on him. Now he sees him.
Yeah, and ZWuji is over. However, it's all disengaged. And you got to say, my eyes were heavily fixed onto HuaTian at that moment because so far in the first two engages, got 0 people with his first ultimate, got 1 person with his second one. I wanted to see if he could make more of an impact.
Yeah, but right now, I mean, if we're just talking about Dominus Appreciation Day, I'm appreciating what I'm seeing from them. Great improvement from Game 1. We still had some pretty deep criticisms to their early skirmish that they had in blue side jungle, but that was a good development that we saw. Great pressure through mid, finding themselves a second Infernal Dragon, and now they got some real power underneath them.
Dominus looking in fine form, and with the extra gold as well, they should be looking to rotate to the point where they can actually influence the side lanes. I mean, look, I don't actually see a 1-3-1 coming out for that team in the very near future. I see them grouping up, especially around Aitong, to get stuff done with the cone.
Yeah, it's fun. It depends on the team and the region that you end up watching. If you see in the LEC, that you better believe that Akali is going to be in the side lane. But if you've been watching Invictus Gaming, a lot of the times that Akali is grouping up with the team for a team fight and will be providing a lot of space with her Shroud. So I want to see what that's going to be looking like with Natural. At least from the last game, if we're able to sparse anything from that one, is that he was on side lane a lot. So we'll have to see what he's able to do with the power that he has.
I mean, he was living in that side lane. So hopefully they change it up this time. Hopefully they actually look for the engages rather than just the handshake with the wave clearing, I should say, because that didn't work out too well. I mean, it worked out for Rogue Warriors in the first game, but in the second one coming up, if they don't abuse the fact that this is the best time for Renekton to get into the middle of a team fight, they're going to lose that advantage.
Well, let's take a look back at the items, because HuaTian got his. Not only did he get the GLP, he got the Spooky Ghost, thankfully. But you look towards Dominus, that's the Essence Reaver being picked up by Corki, so he's going to be picking up a lot of crit, much like you saw from GP in Game 1. This time around, he's like, this could be a slower-paced game, and he's right about that.
Yeah, but the two major carries from Dominus can always escape the hard CC from HuaTian, because you've got the Valkyrie from the Corki, and you've also got the natural ultimate from GALA to dodge out everything. So it's going to be up to HuaTian to burn those two before he goes to the engage, or he has to do a very sneaky one from outside of vision.
That, or maybe, you know, if they fully commit to a fight, he does have flash up, thankfully. But you never want to see that. You never want to see a team just kind of be gifted a fight as he flashes right in. You want to see the setup happen. That's how growth comes through. There is some growth coming through Dominus side. I want to see what the adaptation's looking like from Rogue Warriors that, you know, right now don't have that goal lead. Dominus, not only do they have the goal lead, they have themselves the double Infernal Dragon. They're in a great position to push this game through. As you see, Natural on the sideline. We were talking about it. Just unperturbed now.
Yeah, Natural has the advantage. However, the main core of the team is actually being pushed in towards their turrets. They're sacking a lot of resources, and it might not be working for the best of situations because, of course, Baron is the next big objective, but that's the way that they're trying to do it. They're trying to pull Holder away as well, but both of these two top laners have teleports, so it's ultimately not going to be that effective.
I'm concerned, Preacher. Rogue Warriors have zero vision up top side towards Baron. Now Dominus, you saw what they were dealing with the last time around. This time around, they could be the ones to sneak Baron underneath Rogue Warriors' whiskers.
The vision is very strong. They've got 3 control wards to lock out vision, but Haitong is caught out.
Yeah, numbers advantages there from Rogue Warriors. They're going to be trying to pick up a fight, not in position. HuaTian was trying to look for something, but thankfully Dominus recognized and backed on out.
And more importantly, thankfully Twila wasn't in vision, because if they saw him onto the top side, they would have easily pulled the trigger. With without a Corki being there, they could have taken that fight. So very fortunate, I would say, for Dominus.
Staggering bases. Dominus are trying to just head back to base to get their control wards. So you see it being picked up now by the Corki. So he's in a pretty good spot as he's going straight towards the blue buff. Want to see what the... Yeah, Xayah going back to base has now Infinity Edge and Essence Reaver. She actually is just stacked up, ready for a fight.
And you can see what impact lack of vision is having onto Rogue Warriors. An Ezreal ultimate just burned onto the Baron because they honestly had no idea where the members of DMO were. Didn't even know that they went back to get extra control wards, and that wouldn't be available.
He knows this one's going to be Holder alone. No one to help him out. But guess what? It's a tag team now. Natural's in the area, but was just clearing out the wave and knew that Holder, not only did he have an exit strategy, blew his ultimate.
Yeah, but it still works out just fine for DMO once again. I mean, both of the two solo laners do have teleports, so they can commit as many resources as they possibly want. Their core just needs to watch out and not get engaged on, because Huanggai can always do that.
Rogue Warriors are in position to start clearing out the vision wards that Dominus had in the top side of the map for so long. So it was Dominus making the attempt onto Holder's life, but now they actually costed them a lot of vision up top side. It's going to be nice for Rogue Warriors to keep this game, active and contesting this side of the map for a little bit longer.
So I'm actually interested in the way that DMO has built themselves because of the lack of early game dominance that Haitong managed to get, or rather did not manage to get for himself. He's gone for the gargoyles, which he's still sitting on right now. That's going to be influential because he wants to be a main frontline, but once again, there's still no stats that he can really steal away. Of course, a locket in the making for Huanggai is his best opportunity, but he just wants to soak up as much as he possibly can and buy room for Twila and GALA to free hit. It's going to be a very difficult mission for him.
Take a look at that. Yeah. Dominus, not only were they able to get the Cloud Dragon, rolling the dice, it's a potential triple Infernal Dragon, that is. HuaTian's got to watch out. He's got himself a Twila. Twila did have package, so the 3 members up in the top side of the map, he was able to get out of that one easily.
This is good, though. This is very good for Rogue Warriors because they burned the package. It's not going to be available for a Baron fight. They can now start pushing forward with the Vision, try to fight the Vision and get some for themselves.
All right, you're seeing the Vision being picked up by Dominus. They're in the area. They were there to respond to the aggression Rogue Warriors happened at the top side. Here comes them spooky ghosts. HuaTian is the one who's picked out now, has to flash over the wall. Great attempt there. Rogue Warriors are trying to fish for something.
They knew exactly how to play that. They needed to get the enemy jungler down. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it, and it was very well played by HuaTian to flash out of that situation. But now everything is reset once again. They need to... Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's natural, wanting to go all in now, knowing that the slice and dice was used by Holder. He can stick around. Where's the W? Perfectly placed. Yeah, this should be an easy kill. Natural Holder recognizes that and backs up on away.
Yep. Still, just because no major fights have been happening, no teleports have been burned by the solo laners, so it's not the biggest of impacts, but over a prolonged period of time, we should see the CS differential. It's actually very interesting to see the Holder is coming out as a benefactor of that bottom lane 1v1.
Double flat penetration coming here from Natural. Not only did he have the magic boots, but picking up Morel and Namicon. So that's going to be something that he has. Could help out with the sustain that Renekton does have, so that might be the reason for it. You can already see Grievous Wound on top of his head just in case the fight ends up going through.
That's it. That's it. You need to get the Grievous Wounds down to make sure that Holder can't actually re-engage onto you. But once again, it's going to be a stale bottom lane because it's going to be the 1v1. And look, I'm going to be honest. It looks kind of like the first game where people are handshaking once again and they're just trying to get some vision down onto Baron. It looks like Baron's going to be the ancillary of what they're looking towards.
You know, Preacher, I don't even know if you're misspeaking because I agree. Not only is it stale, it's a stalemate. Like, all of the above. I'm not liking what I'm seeing here primarily from, Dominus. I feel like Dominus, for the most part, not only do they have this advantage, but they're kind of just throwing it up in the air, giving Rogue Warriors an opportunity to pick up a fight that Huanggai has been aiming for all game long.
That's it. I mean, ultimately, it still works out for DMO just because their scaling is better late, but we can't just keep focusing our eyes onto who's better at 6 items, obviously, but the way that the game is going, no engages, we're getting closer and closer to that point.
It's a pretty good opportunity here that, Dominus has to move towards the area, but there is a blue trinket placed within the pit. So they would have an idea if Dominus was on it. Hook coming through from Huanggai, but able to disengage just outright. No flashes there from, the Trundle. Just recognize that. Allows ZWuji to look for these fairly aggressive all-in on Qs.
DMO's members who are going forward are the people who can always dash back. So Mark and Twila can get themselves out of whatever engage is put onto their heads, but that's not really the place that you want to be put into. You don't want to be disengaging. You actually want to find advantageous plays.
My eyes are on Mark right now because for how often ZWuji has been, blinking forward to find an extra pick, or poke that is, Mark can essentially press the button, go for the engage, and see if they can go towards ZWuji. It would depend on how quickly they can burst them down. That really is also dependent on how much damage and follow-up GALA and Twila ends up having. It's a pretty difficult position to find themselves in, but as we're focusing on the bot side, not much should be happening. It's more so this endless game of controlling the top side river.
Yeah, and 29 minutes into the game, Raz, the same criticism that we had for Mark in game number 1 is present in game number 2. He's got all of the tools ready to actually engage for his team, especially into very good opportunities whenever ZWuji does use his Essence Flux, but just choosing not to pull the trigger means that his team has to wait a while, and considering the fact that Baron is up and he's got double Infernal for his team, not looking like a great scenario.
And of course, this game, as passive as it is really a reflection on both of these teams' performances in the summer split. Not only is Rogue Warriors 3-6 at the 11th place of 16 teams, I mean, Dominus right now are 14th, technically tied for 15th with OMG. Yeah. So a lot of issues for both of these organizations. It's culminated in what is lack in confidence. Dominus used to be the most confident team in the spring split to pick up these fights. Now with the consistent losses and the changes within the roster, it's changed up communication. It's made them second-guess a lot of the priorities and positions that they've had. Unwilling to go towards the Baron buff whenever they had the opportunity to. Waiting on Corki. I mean, Twila seems to be the consistent carry, and we'll see if that continues on.
Yeah, however, just taking a look at how ZWuji plays that, he just E'd forward once again and Mark not pulling the trigger. It's actually nice of them to get control over the Dragon, so being handed over to DMO almost for free.
They let them have a triple Infernal Dragon.
That was it. They didn't even
Rogue
fight
Warriors at this stage, they had the early goal lead. They were doing a pretty damn good job until, of course, the earlier fights ended up not really panning out. Now Dominus is just running them for a loop.
And I understand the hesitancy for the team because they didn't want to put pressure onto HuaTian to land a good ultimate multi-man onto DMO, but because, of course, he missed them in the first couple of engages. But you got to have some level of faith onto your mid laner, because if you never pull the trigger, then you never see any play.
I think they're getting just outright frustrated. Not only was Huanggai's initial engage on towards Natural didn't pan out, so they just need to spend a lot of time. Seems like Natural, no, of course, ended up hitting a copy of the Nico, so he's not going to be able to find an access in. But the point being, I mean, Dominus just hasn't been really finding the picks they've been looking for. And you look towards HuaTian, who's died twice this game. He's tried to find that engage, but the problem, the thorn in their side has been GALA. They tried to look for that pick, and ultimately is pressing the R button, getting out of all those engages, and has put HuaTian in really poor position. So want to see what we end up getting out of Dominus, because this is their game to win.
Yeah, but what exactly do you say about that? Do you say that Xayah counters their entire team just because you can't get an engage down onto an ADC? You could just never team fight? That's not really a good way to play the game, and Rogue Warriors just need to be looking for these fights once again. I mean, their ADC is going forward. Why isn't anybody else? Huanggai's in a very good position to actually get a hook down, but he obviously, you're not going to hit it 100% of the time, but he's just not even looking for them most of the time.
I think Weion's just in a tough spot. We saw this one in game 1, actually. This was when Rogue Warriors were winning up, and he got into the late portion, or mid-game, I suppose, and wasn't able to do much. He was just getting picked out, mostly because what can an Olaf at that stage of the game actually accomplish? This time he's on the losing side of things, and they're just hoping that the poke that ZWuji's been throwing out lands on a primary target. Just hasn't been the case.
Speaking about the champs, though, taking a look at Rogue Warriors topside, you got the Renekton and also the Olaf. Their window of opportunity to be effective is very rapidly closing in on themselves. Up against a 3 Infernal Drake team and going closer and closer towards the late game, they are getting out of fashion and they are getting out of their comfort zone.
Another game, and we're seeing Ezreal ultimates just being thrown out there just to get any point of vision on the Baron. That's just how cognizant you have to be of Dominus trying to just rush it. And to your point about the Infernal Dragons, I mean, look, I've seen multiple... At this point, I've actually seen the triple Infernal Dragon team lose far more often the other side. Mostly because of the pressure that comes with it, and mostly the team that focuses on the triple Infernals are usually just bad. I'm just going to put that out there.
Fair enough.
But oh my god, that's a lot of slows that coming through. GLP, Spooky Ghost coming through, and a lot of poke on towards Huanggai.
At that point, if you use both of your actives as the Nico, you should be going in with your ultimate as well, but still, once again, not pulling the trigger.
We're going to have to see. Holders in the side. This could be a great flank, an all-in fight. Itong takes a lot of damage. So does Huanggai. Ultimate comes through, and it does land on towards the AD carry. We'll have to see. Goes golden as well, but GALA's under threat. Oh my god, the Akali just cleans up ZWuji. So while we were focusing on Holder on the front side, it was Natural's flank that was equally as good.
Not respecting the Akali, and the 2 top laners flanking. Now he wants more.
Weiyan needs to get out of there. One bit of poke coming in from the Corki will end his life, and we're in a pretty dangerous position. Not only do they have triple Infernal Dragon, Baron buff is just sitting right there.
It's a 1 for 2, and DMO come out for the better of it. They can, of course, go towards the Baron, but this has to be known for Rogue Warriors. No massive engage potential available.
Yeah, Olaf went back to base, so not much he can do there. Teleport coming through. You'll see 2 members looking to contest against this one. Natural looking for an all-in to take down HuaTian. Here comes Holder trying to slow them down. He will die here, but how quickly is the question. Oh my god, here comes the ultimate from HuaTian. Oh, he couldn't get anybody. And Twila also just got himself out of that one. This full desperation there from the Olaf as well. They're just getting outright cleaned up. Can ZWuji really accomplish anything? Really low HP targets, but the Trundle Pillar ends up holding him down. 1 member at a time. They tried to disable the Baron. They tried to get the opposing team to disengage as well. However, Rogue Warriors, they just die 1 by 1. Sustaining with the red buff. It's going to be really troublesome from ZWuji if he face checks the Akali. Let's see what ends up happening here. He does. He ends up getting out of there, but he ends up getting blown up too. Was looking great for him initially. No vision over the tri-bush, and he ends up getting obliterated.
That's what happens. Holder was way too early because he tried to go into that pit by himself. Even pulling in HuaTian, eventually HuaTian's ultimate came up for a second try. Didn't get enough members. I mean, they got enough members, but with no follow-up from the rest of his team, couldn't actually do anything with that.
At the end of the day, this full-out desperation from Rogue Warriors. You saw the purpose of what Holder and HuaTian were trying to accomplish.
Yep.
By them times, you look at the mini-map, and Olaf was coming through. But at the end of the day, what is Holder going to do as well?
Exactly. Holder just going in and dive for his Doom. Of course, he has the GA, and yeah, it's nice that Olaf comes into here, but after your mid laner dies and your top laner dies as well, even ZWuji teleporting in.
This is what they were hoping for Ezreal to clean up as well. Wasn't the case, as you saw with the Akali and Rakan looking just for the all-right assassination. Not only is Dominus able to pick up the Baron buff, but able to get themselves the triple Infernal Elder Dragon as well.
That's 6 Infernal Drakes, Raz, as well as the burn to boot. I can't see a way that Rogue Warriors can claw their way back. I mean, that was a fight and that was desperation. Did not work in their favor, and they lose a whole lot, not just the members.
They're going to have to be creative. Seen a few times where, specifically thinking about the last time I saw Genji end up playing, it seemed like not only did they have the Giga scaling composition, they had the triple Infernal Dragon as well. One mistake, long death timers, and they ended up losing that one too. So looking at Dominus, you just have to group up, stick together. They have package as well there from Corki.
Kind of looks as if Dominus isn't in a position where they would make a mistake of stepping forward too early in order to get engaged on, though, just because they've been playing so safely, they've been playing so passively. Doesn't look like one of the decisions they would make suddenly because they got double big buffs.
All right. Opening up on this mid lane inhibitor, that's a lot of damage. Twila wants to open up, move up a little bit closer and get some auto attacks down. He can do that. He does still have the package available. The rest of the team wants to move up to the next objective. They're focusing on the bottom lane turret now.
That's just the advantage of having a Baron and also an Elder Drake to your name. The fact that your opposing team can't actually walk up to you because they know that they'll get burned down way too easily. It's working out towards DMO, and Rogue Warriors have just given up their entire base.
Draw the line in the sand somewhere, Rogue Warriors. You have to do something. GLP, or at least the Spooky Ghost, gets used. They're trying to find any picks. Not able to do it. We'll have to see what Rogue Warriors. Oh my god, Huanggai is just dead.
Oh boy.
Just like that, you have to now leave.
Yeah, and even though Natural was off on the side, still at TP, so Rogue Warriors just not pulling the trigger in. Looks like they're going to lose the game for it.
Not only that, Renekton ends up dying solo towards the Akali. We saw it on the bottom left side of the screen. And now you're just going to be seeing Dominus push this one into a game 3, you have to believe. All in to try and get the full clear up now, but they're all back at, just please end the game. There's not much you can do now, but they're going to try and kill him when they're in the fountain. They got him. They got him.
They got him.
Let the last one live. Send the message as we move on towards game 3.
Yeah, that was a very slow game to say the least, Raz. The fact that they waited it out, waited until they could get the Baron and also the Elder Drake meant so they could very securely and safely close it out without taking any risky plays at all.
We're seeing slow build-ups. We're seeing long, hard battles. Game 1 had very weak dragons, so you got to see a lot of them just stick around the lanes.
Yeah, fair enough.
A lot of poke as well. This time around, it was pretty much Rogue Warriors conceding defeat the moment Triple Infernal Dragon went over to Dominus, and now we're going into a game 3, and you need to see some bite out of this team.
Look, Raz, I didn't like the first game, but at least I understood it because there were Ocean Drakes that could keep people in the lanes forever. But in the second game, there was no excuse to not engage, and the 15-minute mark to the 30-minute mark in both of these two games, I think that we could very safely cut out for the teams.
At least the goal difference this time around, the chart is consistent. It was Dominus that had the lead after that last fight, honestly, around the 13-minute mark. And then they called it. They kept on to it.
That was it.
They had great vision towards the Dragon side, and every single time it changed up towards the Infernal Dragon, hey guys, let's make another visit over.
Yeah.
So, tough one for Rogue Warriors.
And it also naturally benefited DMO that their champions scaled better way towards the late game. You could see the damage from both Twila and Natural work out towards their favor. That was primarily due to the fact that they could go so late because they were just doing the handshakes of clearing the waves forever and forever. And this time, because Rogue Warriors were drafting a team composition that spiked so much in the mid game, the fact that they didn't pull the trigger in the mid game lost them so much.
Yep, definitely. There's a lot of instances where pulling the trigger would have helped them out, but a lot of the times you saw from the Nico not willing to make that next step, take it and look for a fight, especially at that one point in time. I think it was about 25 minutes into the game where they could have literally just found that one pick over the wall, but they didn't want to go for it. And so it was more so hope, pray that ZWuji would get that primary pickup with his Q. And then in that one fight around Baron buff, around that area where they were holding him firm for that one fight, he had that opportunity. He was doing a good enough job at least to push them away from the buff itself. But man, this was a game for Natural.
Yeah, and we had a lot of expectations coming into the second game because we said there were multiple ways for them to actually, like both of the two teams to pull the triggers, right? Like obviously we were talking about the point where HuaTian was using his two actives and you say, great, Anika was locking people down. Now she could just go over the wall and use her ulti to really start the team fight. And also on the opposing side, ZWuji was using all of his E's forward. So that was just an exposed Ezreal, but never really capitalized upon. I think that both of these two teams should be looking for their advantages.
Yeah, I want to see what the adaptations are going into Game 3. But I will say this as we go towards a break. I'm expecting that the Invictus Gaming and Team WE game is what you guys want, and we're going to give you guys exactly what it is. We're going to be cutting this one short. If you guys want to be watching Dominus and Rogue Warriors Game 3, check it out on Huya and Douyu. But for us on the English broadcast, we're going to be going with Game 1 versus IG and Team WE.